Breaking new developments in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. You are getting a look at the person who may have taken Savannah Guthrie's mom in the middle of the night. The Pima County Sheriff's Department releasing this video of the suspect who allegedly tampered with the 84-year-old security cameras in the minutes before she disappeared. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, real quick, There Is a Reason On the Case is one of the top shows on YouTube, just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest personal injury law firm. They're a firm of more than 1,000 attorneys who have recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. In the past few months alone, a client in Florida received $12 million when insurance offered just $350,000. In Pennsylvania, another client was awarded $26 million. That is 40 times the insurer's offer. Morgan & Morgan makes it easy to fight for what you deserve. You can even start a claim from your phone. So if you're injured, you can start a claim at forthepeople.com/OTC. You can click the link below or scan the QR code on your screen. Big breaking news in the search for Nancy Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff just released images, pictures, and video of the person who may have taken 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Get a good look at this video and these pictures. A person in a mask who the sheriff is describing as an armed individual who appears to have tampered with the camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door the morning that she vanished. The person has a backpack on and gloves. The sheriff says that they were only recently able to get these videos and images. The images were recovered from residual data, they say, that might have been lost, corrupted, or inaccessible due to a variety of reasons, including the device being removed. The sheriff released the images in a tweet on Tuesday, now 10 days after Nancy disappeared. The sheriff's department wouldn't elaborate any further on details related to this person other than what you're seeing here, like where they think this person is now or what happened after the cameras were tampered with. We also don't know if this person was the only person captured on surveillance video, just that these are the images that they have been able to recover and release at this time. So I want to break down this first video where you see this person approach the camera at Nancy Guthrie's front door. It almost looks like they're going to knock on the door, and then they try to cover the camera by putting their hand in a fist. Then seconds later, they step back from the camera toward the entryway of the front door. They lean down and they grab flowers or what looks like to be grass or brush. And then there's this second video here where it picks back up with the camera covered by those flowers or brush. And you see the person's knuckles, and then bam, the eyes of the suspect shine right into the camera. Now, there does appear to be some sort of bright light coming from the person's mouth. Is that a flashlight or is it just some sort of reflection? Now, we are waiting for more information to be provided about this person and law enforcement's next steps in this case, as well as why they believe that the suspect was armed. But there is no doubt that this is the biggest development in this case since law enforcement say that Nancy was abducted 10 days ago. There are also some new details that were confirmed by the Guthrie family. So let's jump into the clarification on how the Guthrie family first learned that Nancy was missing. Now, initially, you may remember, the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, said that Nancy didn't show up for church Sunday morning, and that is when, on February 1st, someone contacted the Guthrie family saying that something was wrong because Nancy is a very, very devout woman when it comes to her faith. Savannah Guthrie has talked about her faith in her videos posted on Instagram, as well as in stories that were on the Today Show when they featured Nancy Guthrie. But it has been revealed that Nancy Guthrie actually had not been to church in person since the pandemic. She reportedly stopped worshiping in person when COVID hit, and she hasn't physically returned to church on Sundays. Instead, she worshiped with friends. Now, NBC confirmed this information Tuesday morning that Nancy was supposed to meet with friends to watch a live stream of a church service out of New York on Sunday, February 1st. And when she didn't show up to that gathering, that's when friends contacted Annie Guthrie, who is Nancy's eldest daughter, who also lives in Tucson. Now, Monday night, yesterday, The Pima County Sheriff reiterated they don't have suspects. They don't have a person of interest in this case. But now we have these images, these new images of a potential suspect just released on Tuesday. And on top of that, the FBI released a new statement. Now that statement reads, quote, "For more than a week, FBI agents, analysts, and professional staff have worked around the clock to reunite Nancy Guthrie with her family. The FBI is not aware of any continued communication between the Guthrie family and suspected kidnappers, nor have we identified a suspect or person of interest in this case at this time." So the FBI's news statement comes right after Savannah Guthrie dropped a new video and a desperate plea on her Instagram, but a different kind of plea than we had seen previously in this case.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
So that statement, as you just heard there, it's very different from the messaging that we have seen from the Guthrie family on social media over the past week.
This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
So until now, each one of the family's messages appeared to be directed at someone who was allegedly holding their mom. But now the family is appealing to the general public for help. And that new message really raises the question of whether those alleged ransom notes that we've all been trying to dissect for the past week, the ones sent to TMZ and local television stations in Tucson, were those ransom notes ever legit? According to K-Gun TV in Tucson, a television station that says it received an alleged ransom note, it says that the note demanded $6 million to be sent through Bitcoin by 5 p.m. local time, Tucson time, on Monday night. Now, the Bitcoin part of it is very interesting because TMZ said that they authenticated that there was a Bitcoin wallet that was connected to the note that they received. And I'm not someone who will tell you I'm a crypto expert or someone who understands Bitcoin, but you can see a Bitcoin wallet and you can see if money has been put into it. And as TMZ has been continuing to watch that wallet, money has not been put into it. Now, TMZ is also revealing some new information that we had not heard yet related to these alleged ransom notes. They had said that the FBI had contacted them and told them to not release certain details. But one new piece of information we've learned about the ransom note is that it said that if the money was given, this alleged ransom money in the Bitcoin, that Nancy Guthrie would be returned within 12 hours. And we have also, at the time of this recording, passed that deadline from when, if the money was deposited right at the deadline of Monday at 5 p.m. Tucson time, we have certainly passed the 12 hours after that for when whoever sent that note said that Nancy Guthrie would be returned. And when you think of 12 hours, TMZ did point out as well that if someone's driving the speed limit, the radius of where you could get in 12 hours is states away. certainly across the US-Mexico border as well, but states away from Tucson. You could get as far away as California or Colorado. The FBI is offering $50,000 in reward money for information to find Nancy Guthrie and whoever took her. And this is the billboard that the FBI has put together. It is a billboard that is up in several cities, especially in the Southwest: Houston, El Paso, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Antonio, Dallas, and Albuquerque, New Mexico, just to name a few. So now I want to talk about the alleged DNA samples that we mentioned at the top, because one big question from the start of this case has been who else had regular access to Nancy Guthrie's home. This is a woman, she's 84 years old. She reportedly lived alone, but the health concerns that she had, that's a big part of this story. You remember the sheriff saying that she was sharp mentally, but physically she couldn't walk 50 yards by herself. We also know that her daughter Annie lives roughly 4 miles from her house with her husband, and their house was searched over the weekend in what's being described as a consensual search. That's opposed to a situation where law enforcement has to roll up with a search warrant to get access to the house. Fox News Digital is now reporting that Nancy's hired help are submitting DNA samples. That includes her gardener and pool cleaner. The outlet says that this could mean that more DNA results have come back from evidence that was gathered at the scene. Now, the FBI and the sheriff's department, they haven't gone into further details about what evidence they found inside of Nancy Guthrie's house or Annie Guthrie's house that could really matter in this investigation. They also have not confirmed the details of that Fox News Digital report that they are taking DNA samples from those who had worked at Nancy Guthrie's house. Now, you remember this video that was shot by News Nation of blood that was found on Nancy Guthrie's front porch. The Pima County Sheriff says that they expedited the process of getting that tested, and it came back to Nancy Guthrie. Now, the timeline the sheriff laid out about when Nancy Guthrie went to her daughter's house that Saturday night, when she got home, and what happened in the early hours of the morning, it's very important. And I think it's important that we reiterate it, because she goes to Annie Guthrie's house at 5:45. Apparently it was a great night of dinner and games. She Ubered to her daughter's house, but then a family member drove her home around 9:45. And they know that based off when the garage door opened and closed at Nancy's house. It is interesting that the sheriff won't specifically say which member of Annie's family. Was it her? Was it her husband who drove Nancy Guthrie home? The sheriff won't say that outright, but this is what he says they believe happened, at least from some of the digital evidence that they collected in the early hours of the morning, February 1st.
Sunday morning, early morning at 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera, but there's no video available. They had no subscription, and therefore it would rewrite itself. It just kind of loops, right, and covers up. That's what our analysis teams have told us. We're not done with that. We'll do all we can, but that's what it says. So it detects a person on camera. Could that be an animal? I imagine that's possible. We don't know that. We just have no video. Well, we're not giving up on that. 2:28. Nancy's pacemaker app shows that it was a disconnect from the phone.
Now, beyond Nancy's house and her daughter's house, law enforcement also paid a visit to a Circle K gas station that's about 10 minutes of a drive from Nancy's home. And they have told media outlets that they took surveillance footage from that Circle K. It's unclear what the footage shows, but reportedly it was related to a potential vehicle of interest, and it is unclear if that video netted anything of value to this case. The gas station is located between Nancy's home and Annie's home. Now, law enforcement has said that they are following up on new leads, and we can expect to see members of law enforcement continue to have a presence at Annie Guthrie's house and Nancy Guthrie's house. We've also seen law enforcement search a septic tank or perhaps a drainage pipe on Nancy's property. There is obviously, with that new video from Savannah Guthrie, this question of what does law enforcement really know at this point? Are they at a standstill? President Trump over the weekend, he weighed in on this. He knows Savannah Guthrie because she covered him as she has been the host of the Today Show, and he's pledged his support, and a lot of resources from the federal government are going into this search. But he did say something to reporters on Air Force One over the weekend that gave you some hope that we were getting closer to a resolution, saying, quote, we could have some answers coming up very soon. Once again, I want you to get a good look at these images released by the Pima County Sheriff of this masked, armed person at Nancy Guthrie's front door the morning that she disappeared. If you have any information on where Nancy Guthrie may be, you can contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department in Arizona or the FBI. For Pima County, I want to put this number up once again, 520-351-4900. Then for the FBI, the number there, 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can also go to tips.fbi.gov. I spoke with former FBI and CIA agent Tracy Walder just before these images were released by law enforcement. Joining us now to talk more about this case is Tracy Walder, former FBI agent and former CIA agent. Great to have you here on Law and Crime, as always. When you look at the new video that was put out on Monday by Savannah Guthrie, I mean, certainly she's now not speaking directly to whoever may have taken her mom, but it also seemed like the way she was talking was different. It felt more like the Savannah Guthrie almost we see on the Today Show, as opposed to, and understandably so, just how distraught she's looked before that. What stood out to you in that video that she put out on Monday?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Chris. I think exactly what you just said, right? The fact that it was someone who, in my opinion, just, picked up their phone, made a video and uploaded it to their Instagram account. It was not as contrived and scripted and rehearsed, right, as the other 3 videos. I don't believe that the FBI, helped her craft whatever video that was. She may have actually asked them, will this compromise the investigation if I upload it? Because I think she is being that careful and diligent right now. But no, I think that this was just a video of her talking from her heart completely on her own.
And then when you look at the video as well, and to go from the messaging of we will pay and speaking to whoever took her mom to then making an appeal to the public, what does that tell you about these alleged ransom notes that we had been hearing so much about that were sent to the local television stations and TMZ?
Listen, I think we have to remember that the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department never said that they were able to authenticate these ransom notes, but they were not able to dismiss them as fraudulent. And so until you can completely dismiss something as fraudulent, you have to take it seriously. That is just proper procedure. And so that's why I believe that they were making those videos. I don't think it was some ploy or anything like that. I think everything is real until it can be disproved, just like everyone's a suspect until they can be eliminated. And so I think either a couple things happened. I think either they were able to figure out the authenticity or lack of authenticity of the ransom notes, or this was a plea by Savannah before that deadline approached for anyone to hand over any information before some kind of ransom was handed over.
And one question I've had is with these alleged ransom notes that were sent to the media outlets, how difficult is it to, if you were to send a letter from somewhere to maybe a local TV station, like in this case, how difficult is it to hide from the FBI where that actually was being sent from?
So the answer to that is, I know this is going to frustrate y'all, but it depends, right?
Yeah.
There is no question this person, whether real or not, right? Like whether real intended or not, used a burner email. Like there's no question in my mind. There's no question this person encrypted it. There is no question they used a VPN, right? Like all 3 of those things definitely happen. Otherwise, the FBI, you can look up someone's real IP address in a matter of minutes, right? There's no question all of those things were used. And so if this person used military grade encryption, I mean, you could be looking at months, right, to figure that out, even if you are the NSA or some. It's just, I think the movies makes it seem like we can figure it out like that. And that's just not always the case. And so I think it probably took some time.
And then one other thing that stood out to me, because I'm not an expert on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and any of that. And then it's explained to me that you can see the wallet where, and I know TMZ says that they've been watching this wallet that was apparently linked to these alleged ransom notes. And I found that fascinating, just that, everybody could see if the ransom was going to be paid, if that was actually true. I mean, how common, knowing that people can follow certain things with Bitcoin, is it that if this was real, that's the type of currency that in 2026, someone who would do something like this would go to?
I would have expected them to use Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is used a lot of times for money laundering. And if you can do what's called change mixing and make it difficult, it is going to be incredibly hard to trace where that money is going to on the back end. And so if this is real and if this person knows what they're doing from a technological standpoint, I'm not surprised that they asked for Bitcoin.
And turning now to some of now that it's more of this, at least from Savannah Guthrie's side of it, this appeal to the public, and we keep hearing from the Pima County Sheriff that they don't have suspects, they don't have a person of interest, but we have seen in investigations that they're working a lot of things behind the scene that they just don't want out in the public at that point. And I know that we can only speculate on what's really going on, but what do you make of that messaging at this point? I mean, how likely is it now in the 10th day since Nancy Guthrie went missing that we really are in this place where law enforcement's just trying to find that angle that might lead them in the direction of Nancy Guthrie?
I think it's always a possibility, but I think what we need to remember is, yes, obviously they have been investigating this ransom angle. There's no question that they've been doing that. But just because they've been investigating that angle doesn't mean all angles have sort of fallen to the wayside. They're assigning different agents and different law enforcement officers to be working different things. So all of these different angles are being explored simultaneously. I think we've just been giving a lot of attention, and rightly so, to the ransom angle. But I think they've already been exploring all of these and have been doing so really since the get-go.
And the most recent statement from the FBI was that they were unaware of any sort of communication the Guthrie family was having with any sort of alleged kidnapper out there. What does communication in a case like this actually look like from the FBI and law enforcement with the family who's going through this and they're looking for their loved one, but you're also looking and trying to understand exactly what happened and potentially look at everybody? Like, what type of communication might the Guthries be having with the FBI on a daily basis?
I mean, phone communication, text communication, personal visits, which, we have seen those play out. I think they're in constant contact with them. There's no question, especially because this is an ongoing situation. Now, are they updating them, every hour of every day? Probably not. But I do think that if the family wants an update, they will give them one. But I also think the FBI has probably, as well as local law enforcement, has probably set times during the day that they will update them as well.
And then when it comes to, and I know at like a news conference, they want to show united front with the local sheriff's office. What is, and the statement would probably be that everybody's working hand in hand trying to get, Nancy Guthrie brought back safely. But like, what does that collaboration actually look like? Is it the FBI and the sheriff on like a morning meeting every day? Like, what is like the sharing of information back and forth in a case like this?
I mean, it depends. It sounds like they formed a task force, but I could be wrong. If they have formed a task force, then theoretically they are all actually sitting there together in one room and actually working together. So it's more than just simply like handing information right to them at certain times of the day. This would be dedicated agents and officers working together in close proximity, literally and figuratively, to solve the case.
And now with the report that's out about people who may have had access to Nancy Guthrie's home, maybe they worked on the pool, maybe they were a landscaper, someone who might have helped her with her health issues that she was having, and the report that they're taking DNA samples from them. And I saw some, at least internet criticism, and there's been a lot of that why is this happening on day 10 as opposed to something that would have happened on day 1? What do you make of them taking samples now potentially?
I mean, I actually agree with the criticism a little bit, because again, as I said before, they should have been investigating all things simultaneously, right? Unless they knew for sure, right off the bat that those ransoms were real, which they said they didn't. They should have been doing everything simultaneously. Now, we also need to remember there's the sheer volume of stuff that they have to go through in every form. And so they may now just be getting to, okay, let's back this all up to the last 6 months and see who has been in and out of her home for extended periods of time doing work, or whatever. And now let's get all of those interviews done. And while we're doing those interviews, also collect DNA so that we can match it with things that should or shouldn't be at the crime scene. So should it have occurred earlier? In my opinion, yeah. But I don't want to say I'm willing to give them a pass. I don't want to give anyone a pass. I just think that the sheer volume that they are having to go through is a lot, and they just may not have enough people to do it.
And another theory that's out there that I've seen just because of the proximity of Tucson and this community to the border is the idea that someone from the other side of the border would have been involved in, Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. And again, we don't know about the ransom notes and whether that was accurate. Is there any sign of this that, a cartel type organization, just based off of the way that they operate, that they could be involved in something like this?
Cartel doesn't completely make sense to me. Cartels, yes, they do ransoms and those kinds of things, but cartels tend to be quite brutal and quite showy with the violence that they inflict on people, and they don't seem to care necessarily. So what I would think, if Mexico's even involved, which I don't even know that it is, and they said they have not engaged with officials in Mexico, if they are even involved, it's more likely that someone here took her there rather than someone there coming here, simply because it just seems like that is the more probability. Obviously, it's only 60 miles away, so it's clearly accessible. It's just, I don't think it's as likely. You can't dismiss any theory, obviously, at all. I just think it's more likely that someone here took her there, if that even occurred.
And I know that was kind of on the spot because I know that there's been like a million theories that are out there that have been thrown around. Just in your experience, because it goes back to, if you're going to kidnap someone, like an 84-year-old woman with health issues seems to be, something that you don't often see. I mean, how in your career, have you ever seen something like this?
No, I've never have. Sadly, we see a lot of child kidnappings and things of that nature. People are kidnapped for so many different reasons, not just for ransom. We have to remember that, right? People are kidnapped for custodial and parental issues, right? People are kidnapped for human and sex trafficking issues. People are kidnapped, just quick kidnappings. They're going to kidnap you. You go to an ATM, you come back with that money. People are kidnapped for ideological reasons. And so to take an 84-year-old woman, I guess it just begs the question of why, like, what was this type of kidnapping truly?
And then when it comes to just some of the activity that we're seeing, on a daily basis, where law enforcement, they say they're doing follow-ups at maybe it's Annie Guthrie's home where Nancy was before she went to her home, or at Nancy Guthrie's house. Like, what do you make of, and I know it was a consensual search at Annie's home over the weekend, and it seems to be very consensual at this point at all the locations they've been. What do you make of them following up on some of these leads now? Like, is that almost a cause for concern, kind of going back to some of the criticism that maybe they should have done it earlier? Or is this just kind of standard operating procedure that we're seeing?
Personally, I feel that they should have treated Annie's home, once it was kind of figured out what this was, as an extension of the crime scene, not because anybody in her home necessarily did this, but because that is where we know Nancy Guthrie spent a good deal of time prior, right, to this event happening. So I would have been investigating them both simultaneously, to be completely honest. And yeah, the family is essentially like, the door is wide open, come on in whenever you feel like it. And so I think they were fully expecting law enforcement to come in there, and they've been super cooperative about it, which is obviously a good thing.
And then just as you're looking at this, and everybody is trying to analyze every single little piece of information that's come out, like when you kind of woke up today, you thought about this case, like where has your mind been on, this might be the path that they should follow, or this seems to be something that could be leading us in the direction of Nancy Guthrie?
I don't know that I have an idea what path they should follow, because obviously I don't have access to their evidence. But I do think that this is a person who may not necessarily be motivated by money, may definitely plan this out over a period of time. And so I do think they probably need to be walking back a time frame to 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and examining who she came in contact with, who even Annie Guthrie and Savannah Guthrie all came in contact with as well, investigating that. But I think they need to walk the time frame back a bit, because I do think that this was planned.
And we'll see what happens next. Obviously now in day 10, the pressure on law enforcement and hopefully still at this point that there can be a happy resolution to this story. Former FBI agent, former CIA agent, Tracy Walder, always great to have you on Law&Crime. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. Once again, before we go, such an important piece of information on your screen. If you know where Nancy Guthrie is, contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department or the FBI, 520-351-4900. or the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI, or you can go to tips.fbi.gov and you can remain anonymous. That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, and now you can find episodes of On the Case on Peacock. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.